What is up, all you GBA type people? This is Tom, and I'm back! For better or for worse. With me as always.
Yo, what's up? It's Burke. And Tom being back, I think it might be for worse, so...
Oh, definitely for worse, let's be honest.
Although some people were missing your brutal realism, so...
I read that. You're welcome, brutal realism appreciating guy. High fives. Internet high five. Yeah. Okay. Number 16. We have the Sacramento Seakings. At least Hayden had a plan this week, but he still brought the Claydol. Burke, I know how you feel about Claydol.
Fuck Claydol.
Exactly. Once Claydol went down, I think the Mega Metric was able to pivot around Hayden's team pretty much unrestricted. I don't see Slowbro being effective at all for Hayden anymore. It's just kind of a setup or death mon, whether it's Dark Pulse or whatever. And then at least he did a good job spin blocking with Mega Sableye against Mavone's Fortress. Otherwise, Hayden said it very well himself. He's done. Fuck it. Towel's been thrown. He's done.
Yeah, not too much left to say about that. I mean, yeah. He says fuck it, so I'm not going to spend too much time. I just wanted to say, a few things. He keeps doing the same thing with Slowbro, and this is one of the things where you can start doing some different things. Slap a Colbur, berry on that, to take a knockoff, unlike last time he didn't put any item instead, which was weird. Put HP fighting on that, it's a Weavile lure. You lure it in, you kill it. It's stuff like that that is pretty easy to do, and it actually makes your sets a lot more effective. Fuck Claydol again, because that is a shitmon, no matter what. And he couldn't really do much. Granted, the full para on the Mega Sableye at the end really cost him the game. He probably could have won with it. It would have been a slow match, but there wasn't really much Malvone could have done at the end to kill the Mega Sableye unless it got paralyzed, so he improved a little bit.
I'm sorry, I missed your point about Claydol. How do you feel about Claydol?
Fuck Claydol. It's the worst mon in the league.
Okay, well there.
The only
there
thing,
we go, guys.
The only thing worse than Claydol is Baltoy.
There's your hot take for the day. Number 15, your number 14, the Detroit Steel Wings. Now, the reason I have Crimson below Shady, even though he won, is because play your fucking match. Don't go into the mindset saying I wasn't going to play the last two matches. Play your fucking match. You're in this league, and you'd kind of disgrace people who aren't in the league or who didn't make the cut over someone like you or whoever else. I don't care if you forfeit. I don't care if you have something like Miguel was pseudo valid, but still you had the whole I don't feel like playing thing. Just, commit. You have 16 weeks, or whatever. Sorry, 12 weeks. Just play. The Cursed Dusclops was cool. Haven't seen that in ever. And it was interesting seeing him run the Curse and the Rest. But no mean look, that was interesting. He got quarter damage off on the Melodic and whatever else he, put the Curse on, but no mean look to keep it in, where you can switch out. I think that was kind of silly because it basically was just passive damage, especially against a Melodic that could just recover. I don't know. The Spikes did a good job whittling down Shady's team, and then it's sad to see that Crimson stepping away because, no, he isn't at the same caliber. Sometimes he improves other times. I say that because, you could hear in his voice or in his commentary, I'm not the same level, not distributing the same quality as other coaches, but then he takes down a 5-year veteran of the GBA. No problem, too. He just seemed to play very well. Also, the fact that he sacrificed the Dusclops to get value information about the Zam with the Frisk ability was cool. This is basically his match was all about Dusclops. Yeah, there you go.
I don't really have much to add. He used Dusclop pretty well. It's not a mon you see used very often, and the Curse was interesting. I do not like running any mons with no attacking moves. I'll get to that to a different coach when we talk about him. But it's just, I guess he used his things effectively. Shady didn't really have switch-ins to Staraptor, especially once the Rhyperior went down. So he's able to save his win conditions for the end and just kind of clean up a Staraptor, which, really big threat. I think he's using it a little bit better, but still. I agree, it's sad to see him step down, but if that's what he feels like he needs to do. So Shady, number 14 for you, number 15 for me. Shady, there's really not much to add to Shady. It seems I keep repeating myself. The problem with Shady, week to week, granted, he did not have a lot of time to prep for this, is the fact that his main offense, and you see it week in and week out, is Sharpedo and Alakazam. And
Barf.
while both of them are good in their own right, they are not a wall-breaking core.
Barf.
They're not that great just as his only offense, and he keeps using it. Attacking the facade on the Mega Venusaur was a good case in case of the burn, and he did get burned, so
It was cool.
it was pretty cool.
Huh.
But
He did. I mean, I've never, in my time of playing Mons, watching Mons, I've never seen a lead Zam. Zam, maybe I have, but it was more like a Scarf Zam or Mega Zam. I don't know. Basically, the point is, Shady, you should never lead with a Sash Zam. And then also, he kind of forgot that Zam had Magikarp for a second. I thought that was funny. I kind of chuckled it. Oh yeah, I'm going to die to Spikes. I'm like, what? What do you mean you're going to break your Sash with Spikes? What's wrong with you? Also, the fact that he had trouble with both Crimson Suicune and Roserade. It seems as though he had limited switch-ins, or he kind of hiked up Roserade and Suicune to be bigger Mons to his team than they actually were. If nothing else, at least it shows how dominating or how intimidating something like Suicune, Scaldcoon has been.
I mean, it did almost get a 6-0 sweep once.
6-0, booty clap, 6-0. Anyway. And then, not only that, but he's really not in touch with any sort of proper planning or any effective method to take down Crimson's team, or a lot of people's teams for that matter. It always, like you said, maybe it abides back to the whole Sharpedo Alakazam thing. Maybe we looked at his team with more of a bulky mirror rather than like looking really deep and going, oh, where's his offense type thing. Jirachi's not necessarily a sweeper. It's never really been a sweeper. And then finally, I think I like the red card Rhyperior, but after that died, Staraptor just became a mop, and Shady's team was the bucket or the floor. Yeah, definitely the floor, because mops handle floors. Anyway,
You don't mop buckets?
number 13, your number 11, Arizona Deoxys, led by Gubstacular, or maybe more Gub Sadness. Yeah, that one.
Ooh.
Music burn. No Slowbro on Nips' team allowed Gubs to use this Cavalier much more effectively because of the fact that there was no Slowbro to really hamper him, and he was able to set up on the Chansey, and then counter was like bah, good night. So Escavalier was very short-lived, but that's impressive, and I hate Chansey that much more now because of the fact that it can take a +2 Mega Horn and then counter and kill an Escavalier. It's like, I hate that fat piece of shit. Fuck. If Kelly was here, he'd be like, I love Chansey. Fuck you, Kelly. I have to agree with Guz. Mega Zam is very difficult to show off in the GBA or just in League format in general, because as good as it might be on Showdown, on the ladder, when you can't prepare for it, when you prepare for how frail Mega Zam is, it's probably a little easier to handle. And then just with this match, I can't put my finger on it. Was it like lazy playing? Is Gubs just defeated? Is he just not really making his mark on the GBA? It seems like he just let things take damage and didn't see certain plays coming, like the counter Chansey, and maybe he's just worse than we all expected. He crumpled very quickly. If nothing else, this match was the most surprising match, because I went from like halfway through and going, oh yeah, this probably lasts a little bit longer, to all of a sudden Gubs has one Mon left. I was like, what just happened? Did I just jumped to like some kind of time vortex? Am I on the TARDIS? Where am I? Who are you people? That's how this match went.
Yeah, I looked at the time and I'm like, 18 minutes. Oh, great. Did he get swept again? But he didn't. He didn't.
That would be a 6-minute match.
Well, it took a while for him to get swept, but Gubs does not like keeping his Gliscor around. I think this is, the third time it's died first turn? Like, it died to Ice Beam from Tyranitar, now it dies to Final Gambit. I don't think he's using Gliscor very well. He doesn't keep it around for things like, I don't know, Diggersby, which can be a big threat. I felt like the team structure for Gubs this week, it just, once one Mon goes down, like the Gliscor, his team just crumbles entirely. And as you can see, it was a very quick match. And all of a sudden, like every other turn, something of Gubs was going down. And he just doesn't see things in front of him that he should. Something like counter Chansey. I know it's not a normal move for Chansey to run, but it's been run in the past, and he just completely forgot about it. And then
it's a fighting move. Counter's a fighting move. Get it?
God damn it. But yeah, Gubs he doesn't see these options, and to me, it seems like, at least in Gubs' commentary, he just seems to underestimate underestimate his opponents, and when things don't pan out, he just gets defeated both in the battle and mentally very easily. That's what I saw this week.
I mean, last year, who was it? Mulvone that had Gliscor, and what was it, the first 3 weeks he lost Gliscor within the first 2 or 3 turns, so, or the first turn for that matter. So
well,
maybe Gliscor's just cursed, man.
I don't know. It was really bad luck for Mulvone last year because he just got like burned first turn 3 matches in a row. I think he got burned with his
or
Gliscor.
The Toxic Orb got knocked off.
Or the Toxic Orb got knocked off. So yeah, maybe it's just the Gliscor curse. No one pick it up next season.
Which is good, because Gliscor is fucking annoying.
It's not that hard to plan for if you know it has a 4 times ice weakness that's on your opponent's team. Apparently it's not that hard to plan for, seeing it's gone down so often. Number 10 on my list, well, number 12 on your list, Time, is the Long Island RegiRockies. Nips played a relatively safe battle this week. He was able to get rid of the Gliscor first turn, which is nice, you know.
Final Gambit was cool.
I love Final Gambit X Allegory. It's actually a really good set, and if you can get rid of something on your opponent's team, and I think that was one of the problems with Gub's team, his base HP stat on like all of his mons this week was less than 80. So something was dying, unless he, switched into Configurations. But, that's whatever. Counter Chansey was a nice touch, took down the Escavalier, and when he took down both the Gliscor and the Escavalier, he didn't really have to make many overly aggressive predictions. He just played safe. He switched in things that he knew could take hits, and he was able to just one by one quickly take down Gubs' team. So to me, this is a pretty strong showing by Nips that we haven't seen in past weeks, so I moved him up because of that. And he's still technically in the playoff race, although it's very, very, very unlikely, just because he needs to win like 4-0 and Mulvone needs to lose like 3-0, and then he can get back in the... Then he'll clinch the playoffs, but,
I think it's more than that. I think Mulvone needs to lose by 6-0, I think.
Oh wait, no, I'm thinking Dan and Gio. Yeah. Mulvone needs to lose about 6-0, and Nips needs to win about 5-0 to get back into this. There we go. I was like, there's something wrong about that.
Which is going to be very impressive that actually happens, but also very sad. But it's the GBA, so
anything can happen.
There you go. Nothing much to add on that. I liked Final Gambit, although I like Final Gambit's the Raptor a little bit more, but that's kind of just me. Yeah, without Gliscor, it seemed as though just Scrafty and Diggersby were allowed to do something in this match, because I don't think they would be able to do as much if Gubs did in fact have the Gliscor. I believe he had the Aerial Ace on the Gliscor for the Scrafty, and then Diggersby is, it's a Diggersby. I don't know how. It's been kind of effective this year, but, yeah, Diggersby.
Alright, Steve. The dream's dead, people. Steve is now officially out of the playoffs.
No, the dream.
Hashtag believe in Steve. Can't be used anymore this season, so I'm sorry, guys. Steve has shown what Steve does in these past few weeks. I really like the fact that Steve brought double Scarfers. That was a very interesting choice. The defensive Rotom Wash with Trick Scarf, that was a pretty nice touch. Would have been nice to EV it to outspeed the Mienshao with the Scarf, but can't wish for everything. Steve brought also Haxorus this week, and in his commentary he said Haxorus was his way to take down Skarmory.
Hello? What? Are we in Bizarro World? Excuse me?
That's not something you normally use to take down a Skarmory. But I will give him credit that he did actually take down the Skarmory with Haxorus. On a side note, I know I said I hate Claydol. I also hate Skarmory because that thing is just fucking stupid. A +2 Dragon Claw from the Haxorus did just fucking 30% to it.
Fucking 30%.
Fucking 30%.
Fucking 30%.
Steven's been using Skuntank very well. It got 3 kills this week, which normally you don't see. So I think he's been getting a lot of use out of his lower tier picks. But the thing with Steve's team is once he let the Mesprit go down, his team just started to crumble away. Once that went down, something was dying very often, and there was nothing Steve could really do about it. Nick just had really good offensive momentum against Steve in the late game. Early game, Steve was keeping up some good offensive momentum, but he lost it once that Mesprit went down. But It was a very... I don't know how to explain it. It was a very Steve match. He brought a lot of interesting things. I really like the Shadow Sneak Mega Gardevoir. I wish he actually went for the Shadow Sneak. That would have been interesting to see. And I guess the biggest thing with Steve is I always love Steve's attitude week to week. He's just barely clinging on to the playoff hopes this week. Granted, it's gone now. But he plans hard week to week, and it's really refreshing to see compared to some other coaches who do not plan nearly as hard with a losing record.
I was about to name off all the teams that have stopped trying, but I'm not going to be that much of a dick.
I mean, you already called the 3-7 teams garbage teams.
I mean, they're dumpster fires. What else am I going to call them? 3-7 teams are dumpster fires. 2-8 teams are dumpster fires. Get over it. Okay, Steve, doing Steve things. Tried to compete, like you said. It's nice to see, but dumpster fires. Okay, let's play a game, boys and girls. Name me the moves that are fire type that Haxorus learns. I'll give you 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. You're right, there are none.
Oh darn! I was gonna guess Fire Fang.
It doesn't get Fire Fang or Fire Punch. Go figure.
Darn.
It's actually the main reason why it's like not OU and used like as much as you see Hydreigon or Dragonite, which kind of isn't really seen anymore. But the point is, using that against a team with a Crest and a Scarm. It barely did anything to a Scarm, 30% like you said, but the Skunk Tank was more clutch than the Haxorus was. And how often do you say that? A Haxorus was less effective than a Skunk Tank. Makes no sense, but that's Steve for you. The match is okay. A lot of these matches were just okay. Or they were hot garbage and a hot garbage fire and a burning dumpster.
Listen, Tom, you're calling out the 3-7 teams dumpster fires. I'm looking forward to the day you compete again and you go 3-7.
Listen, man, I will promise you that if I go 3-7 in any league, I'm still gonna have fun with it, because
I mean, you're gonna be dumpster fire though.
That's fine, because I'll call myself. I'll be like, all right, bring you the San Jose dumpster fires. The San Jose dumpster fires coming to you in a league sometime in 2016.
Yeah,
okay. Next up, after a long pause, Pittsburgh Paraditas. You have him at, what is it, number 12? I have him at number 11.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Tup unfortunately went up against Lars, and it wasn't a bad match. It was just kind of a match. It sucked that Tup had his Thundurus get knocked out first turn. Ballsy play by Lars. Talk more about that later. But Tup just seemed baffled and kind of thrown off very early, because once Thundurus was knocked out, I think he didn't quite have as many answers for Lars' team, or just a fair part of his offense just wasn't really there. Next up, the 2 gunk shot misses. That was awful. It just wasn't Tup's match. 2 crit knockoffs, 2 missed gunk shots. Clearly he was frazzled. And after that, I think he was just somewhat throwing away Mons. Like, the most effective Mon that he had was, in fact, the Ambipom. And also that was probably the main reason is, his blood pressure was kind of ascending during that match. I'm so... Okay, I love Arcanine. I know a lot of teams have their mascots as Arcanine, and I loved using Arcanine in the GBA. Like, when I used it, I think it had a positive differential kill death-wise, but for some fucking reason, right? Last year, we saw Steve use it, and he used it like he was abusing it. PETA was about to be on his ass for that one. And now we're seeing Tup use it, and I understand the wittiness he's trying to come up with, because obviously you gotta be versatile, but, like, I feel like Arcanine has one job, and it's to be intimidating, get it, and then go for Flare Blitz or go for status and Morning Sun and shit, right? But, like, I feel he's getting, like, too cute week in and week out with his Arcanine, almost to the fact where he's letting it die very quickly.
I was going to say, like, I've used Arcanine in my league and it went positive, so I know it can be used pretty well, and it, in the right situation, going offensively works really well, but Tup just... I don't know what it is. He's using it like specially defensive, like most of the weeks.
With Intimidate.
Yeah, it's not a special wall, unfortunately.
Can be. It's not. It has to have Morning Sun at that point. Anyway, that's beyond the point. I liked his Focus Punch Ambipom. It was really cool that it actually kind of worked, somewhat, sort of, against the Tangrowth. And then his last Mon, his Machamp, it's John Cena. Oh wait, no, it's not John Cena. It's dead. It was dead. That's it. It was dead. It came in and dead.
Can we end the fucking memes, please?
Burke is clearly memed out.
Nah, just John Cena memes. They're so overplayed. Top turn 1, playing on tilt. I mean, he overpredicts. I don't know why you wouldn't scout out for Yachi Berry or a Scarf. Like, he stayed in, and his commentary is like, he could be Scarf. I'm going to go for the knockoff. If it's Scarf, you die. Why would you risk that? And Lars has brought Yachi Berry at like 99.9% of the time. So I think no matter what, Lars was going to come out ahead on that trade. But I think we disagree on that part. But overpredicts, playing on tilt. All the hacks didn't help him either. And I don't think he really had a shot at the match once Thunderous went down first turn. He's just not in the game anymore. And it shows. Things died very quickly, and Lars just picks up a really big win. Tup, also, I'm really looking forward to you wearing that blue dress and the blonde wig. I think it'll look good, and you really have to stop making these bets. You lose them a lot. Last season,
often.
Yeah, last season was a gazpacho, and now this season's the Patty Mayonnaise outfit. He's ramping up the bets, and he's still losing them. So you might want to, if you're going to make bets, just kind of cool down on what you're betting. Just make small bets, and then as you start winning them, then you can ramp them up.
Be careful, you might bet his dignity next time.
Oh. No, I think you already lost that.
Oh, shit. Okay. It's okay, and it's not that I disagree with you. It's the fact that when you make that first turn play, it throws off your opponent. Like, for example, when I played Nick, Season 2, I think, he started off with the Dark Void Smeargle. I didn't fucking see that shit coming. Like, that was... I planned for Spore, planned for Sleep Powder, and I was like, yeah, I'll be no problem. And then all of a sudden I see Dark Void. I'm like, fuck. And then obviously it's not in the same the same level. But when something like that happens that you just don't expect, and it like knocks you off on your heels at the very first turn, the rest of the battle it's just fucked unless you can somehow gain momentum back. Which if somehow we were able to have some sort of statistician to figure out these loopy stats like they do on ESPN, we'd be able to find out how many coaches are unable or do eventually claw back from being behind within like the first half of the match. But I'm pretty sure no one wants to do that because that's tedious as fuck. Cincinnati Loudreds. So to clarify, he didn't upload his match yet, right?
No.
Fucking you liar, you dirtbag liar. Alright, Mavone talked to me on Skype, said he'd upload his fucking match last night. Liar! Mavone did a good job maintaining solid matchups. Hayden had limited switches for Mavone's team as a whole. Not necessarily individual mons, just couldn't necessarily pick apart the entire thing. Once Slowbro went down, Weavile was pretty much unrestricted, and you never want to let a Weavile run around against another team because it's going to be bad days. Just knocking off shit out of your hands all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You like that water ball in your hand? No, just kidding. Fuck you. And knock it out of your hand.
We've all been there.
Weavile been there.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, it was bad. The final T-Bolt pair locked up the game pretty much for Mulvone. It was unfortunate for Hayden, even though it was a very close match. It was closer than I expected, maybe closer than some people wanted, but I think Mulvone, unless something catastrophic happens, is probably in the playoffs. So at least that's a pseudo-quality team going into the playoffs. Please prove me wrong. Please make these ones count.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. This is a relatively short battle, and Mulvone just uses his team the way he's been using it. A lot of offensive momentum, a lot of volt turning and U-turning around, and he kept up the matchup in his favor. Granted, at the end, you can tell he doesn't really have much for Sableye. Gets that skill para, and then full para, and he wins,
Much skill para.
Yeah, it's all skill. Hacks aren't really a thing. Alright, so next on my list is the St. Louis Rampardos, coached by Dan, a.k.a. Drive. Way too many names. Dan seems to get fucked over by DCs a lot. I don't think this one was really game-changing in terms of the damage, like against Lars, but just mentally, I think he does not handle it well.
I agree.
Goes in with... He wasn't even going in with a good momentum anyway, and then he just gets 2 DCs, and I think that just kind of threw him. The match said, fuck you. I think he was really trying to make a lot of predictions early game, which you don't really want to do, especially around a threat like Entei. And what ended up happening was he took big damage with the Blastoise, got burned. He took big damage with the Victini. It took 2 Sacred Fires, which Victini, while, bulky, 2 Choice Band and Sacred Fires do quite a lot of damage. Things caught him off guard. I would be very caught off guard by the Ditto as well. And the crit close combat mattered on the Heracross, but he only had a 28% chance of getting off an attack on the opposing Heracross. That's factoring in the chance to break through Para, chance to break through Confusion, and chance to not get crit. Well, it happened, and he loses the Heracross. Big offensive pressure. Then he still has nothing for the Entei besides a burned Blastoise, which isn't great. And he lets the Sylveon take big damage. It went down. And just like last week, that really hurt Dan. And then he lets Victini go down. And he can't break through all of Geo's bulk, which is Salamence. And Aggron and Blastoise are pretty poop at wall breaking. So that's not going to happen. And he got swept by a Ditto. What can I say? That's not a great way you want to go. But Dan's not technically out of the playoffs. He could win big and Geo could lose big. I don't know if that's going to happen. But Dan's really got to take this next match seriously. I know he's saying, I'm just going to bring some silly sets next week. Actually try, because you never know what's going to happen. Geo could just all of a sudden get demolished.
I did talk to him afterward. I clarified, because he was very down and out after that match, and I'm sure the comments very much so reminded him as well. But if he wins 4-0 and Geo loses 4-0, it's actually a 2-point swing back into his favor to get into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So Dan's team was essentially what I thought it would be, because every Mon he brought was, for better or for worse, his most successful Mons outside of Jolteon, but that was interchangeable with Blastoise. Anyway, point is, he's seen the most success with those Mons, so it was good for him to bring those Mons, except he didn't use those Mons like we've seen him use them. Like you said, big damage with the Choice Band Entei. Another game where I think, like you said, Dan, the DCs, and basically he had to play up to Geo's level during this game. Not to take away from Geo, he played well. We'll talk about that in a minute. He played well. I'm not taking this away from him. He played well. Just say it one more time. He played well. Don't jump down my throat, please.
Tom, did Geo play well this week?
No. It's just he unfortunately just didn't have all the answers, and the DCs affected him adversely, like I think they have before. And he got played by Blissey and Ditto, and once Victini and Sylveon went down, he didn't have enough to take down what Geo had left. And like you said, Mega Aggron Blastoise are pretty hot garbage at offensive sweeping, and Salamence can't do it all on its own.
Not when
no Superman.
Not when your opponent has a Latias that outspeeds it.
The Boston Red Sox are next. We have suddenly in France. Don't ask me why. No, seriously, don't ask me why, because that was weird. So, Nick played well. I like that he ran the Choice Scarf Rotom Mexican. Also, the fact that Nick didn't show any signs of slowing down after not playing for 2 weeks. Or, I'm sorry, being awarded 2 forfeitures for 2 weeks. He can still play. He can still plan. That's important. He does have a playoff spot locked up. He's only really competing with Miguel at this point. So, unless he loses to Gubbs, unless Miguel loses to Mulvone, which could happen, or, probably won't happen, then one of those two teams are going to be the number one spot. It should be fun for next week. So,
I like the AV Metagross. I think Metagross is actually really good in League format, and it's kind of cool to see it actually do something.
Yep.
Yeah, as you said, the Rotom for Nick was definitely a hard worker this week. Crest and Scarm are stupid, and I hate them. I hate them so much. One by itself is bad enough, but both of them on the same team is just so fucking stupid. I mean, how do you break through that? It's nice to see that Nick, like you said, he hasn't suffered from the weeks off, and he did well keeping up some momentum mid-game and late game, and then he just was able to kind of clean up with Metagross.
Next up we have San Francisco Giants, led by Gym Leader Geo. So Geo played very boldly this week, as he stayed in with the Entei on both the Blastoise and the Victini, relying on Dan to overthink. So basically, he put himself in control early, and he allowed those offensive-minded plays to essentially, accelerate him ahead of Dan, because I think maybe he watched Dan's videos. I think he does, but he watched Dan's videos and kind of took his own medicine and used it against him. It was cool, I guess. The Swagger Paralysis Blissey against the Heracross, that would have been very cool if that worked. I think I really would have laughed. And even regardless of if it did or didn't work, the fact that he was then able to bring in a Ditto at +2 as a Heracross, yes, the crit mattered against Dan's Heracross, even at +2 because it was max HP. I calced it. If it wasn't max HP, then it probably didn't matter, but it did matter. But nonetheless, something was going to die. Like every time Ditto came in, something was going to die. Again, it happened as the Victini when he went for Bolt Strike. So we've said this many times. I'm going to say it again probably next week. The way Geo is using Ditto, very impressive. And I kind of hope he does make the playoffs, because I think he'd be more interesting in the playoffs. Also, I feel like Gio's been working for all of his wins. You have teams like Miguel or even Fizz, Nick even, where they're cruising through their wins, where Gio is putting in so much work, and I think his battles have the next step of effort put into them, just based on the team building and the amount of solid plays he's making. There's been a few games where he's kind of stumbled, but not as many as other coaches. So needless to say, I like Gio's playing, and I like his team, and he's showing off what he's good at. He's good at Ditto. Yeah.
Is that something you really want to be good at, though?
It's better than being bad at Ditto,
I guess. And normally I would say fuck Gio for using Swagger, but I like how he used it this week. It wasn't to just,
No, I don't know. Please explain.
It wasn't just a Parafusion, the Heracross, but to actually get a +2 into the Ditto, so that was pretty cool. It's really showing the ingenuity that he's got. I think he's been the most innovative player that we've seen this season. He just comes up with random shit and it actually works.
Right.
He put Plan Alpha into motion. It worked. The crit helped. And it was just... He was able to just dismantle all of Dan's offense with almost relative ease. And then once that was gone, it was just he had to make the motions to make sure he won. Just, kill the Salamence, switch into Ditto, EQ everything for the win. And I think this is the only time we're going to see a Ditto mini sweep. That's kind of interesting. So I think we're going to see Gio in the playoffs, and I'm really looking forward to it. He's definitely been one of the harder workers this season trying to get his wins. And I know you said some coaches were cruising to wins, like Fizz this week. Fizz just kind of cruising onto
a bruising.
I'm sorry. Forgot about that one. But yeah, Gio's been doing really well, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he does in the playoffs if he actually clinches it. Oh, the Arcaniners are next. George got manhandled this week. Big time. He had some interesting sets, and it was interesting to see what he wanted to wall. He has a Bronzong. Bronzong is an amazing wall to Mamoswine. Mamoswine can't really do too much to it besides knockoff, and even then, it's not doing too much, but he brought heat-proof Bronzong for the Emboar, and I guess he thought Emboar was the bigger threat, and I think he was right. He was kind of prevented from killing the Emboar due to a high roll. He said it was a high roll. He said he had a 77% chance to die, and he died. He had Custep Berry Explosion, which would have been great to see. I love seeing Custep Berry Explosion, because who fucking doesn't? It's a great set. Sub Nidoqueen was another really good set. It could have put in a lot of work, but he was never allowed to set up a sub, especially on the Altaria. Altaria made sure not to let it set up a sub, and his team just did not have the means to deal with both Emboar and Mamoswine. Yes, the crit Earthquake on the Umbreon sucked, but I didn't think that was game-breaking, and it's the same problem we've seen with George these past 2 weeks. He's making really obvious plays, and he's playing his win cons very, very risky, like the Nidoqueen. He switched Nidoqueen into an extrasensory, and that goes down. And it sucked.
That was more of a good play by Miguel, less a bad play by George.
Yeah, I guess. It doesn't seem like the normal play style we'd see from George that we saw when he was on his 7-game win streak. And he says he's going to take the next week kind of off to regroup, just have a fun match. And I think that's what he's going to kind of need to make sure he gets his head in for the playoffs. So hopefully this next week just, he recuperates from this kind of loss streak and he goes in strong to the playoffs.
For what it's, I'm actually going to kind of tack on something. For what it's worth, extra sensory is not that common on Zapdos. I think that you see Heat Wave more often, but okay. We can agree or disagree on that one. The silver lining for this match is that George learned valuable information about Miguel's team. I think Miguel brought a higher tiered team this match to ensure that he got into the playoffs or to ensure that he got a first seed and he competed with Nick. And he didn't think about like the week or the week after that, because now George has a good idea of what was really effective against his team. What on George's team didn't work. What on George's team did work. What on Miguel's team took on his team very well. What can he learn for the future? That, I think, is the silver lining for this match, because even though they're both locked up for the playoffs, George now has a better mindset of where Miguel can get creative and where he can't, because he's kind of shown his hand now, whereas George maybe hasn't as much. Like the defensive Mew, not really going to change. The Mamoswine, not really going to change. But the other stuff, how can George adapt for the next match? Like you said, it's going to be cool that he's going to have a fun battle next week against Hayden, because Hayden's kind of, burnt out, and I don't want to see George burn out even more, because, maybe he does want to really push that whole playoff title. Let's see a Fizz George final.
Already looking at the finals. Let's look at the first round first.
You look at the first round first.
I am going to.
Yeah, you will. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, this was a great match, and by great match I mean
what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, this match was a fucking train wreck for Fizz. This is like, I can't fault Fizz for doing what he did. He gave John no information. Like, George now has information on what he can use against Miguel. John has no better information about what he can use against Fizz now, because Fizz just brought fucking stupid bullshit. Like, I watched his team builder, and I was 3 months in, and he had one attacking move. That's like brilliant planning right there.
I made his team, and I was like, "What the fuck is this Weezing set? What the fuck is this Venomoth set?"
Listen, Fizz, I told you that if you lost to John this week, I put you at number 16, and you risked that. So I'm not putting you at number 16. But
you fucking liar.
I'm sorry. But wait, we're not even talking about... Oh, fuck. We're not even talking about the right person.
It's all right. We can talk about both of them. I don't really care. We can just kind of move through this match.
I mean, I don't really have much to say about John. John prevented a belly drum sweep. Good on him. There wasn't really much he had to do. It was like, keep the chestnut low. Once that was low, there was nothing Fizz could do. It was just... What does he do?
I literally have 2 notes about this game. It was ballsy of John going into Hydreigon against the Frostlass, because Ice Beam would have been a big ol' kick in the teeth, or the claws. Fangs? Fangs. Definitely that one. And then, at least, like you said, John prevented a successful sweep from Fizz, and he locked up a playoff spot.
I do want to say, though, if Fizz had actually belly drummed on the Raikou switch out, he would have won that match.
True. Okay.
The Piloswine's asleep. It's the only thing he had that was priority. It outspeeds the Hydreigon, and it actually kills a physically defensive Reuniclus with Seed Bomb. It would have actually just swept his entire team, surprisingly. So, if that actually happened, I don't even know what to say if that actually happened.
He already has number 1. Moving on, the Real Moril. So, I like that Miguel used his dedicated switch-in for Megalopony as Mew. Very effective, and even the moveset essentially covered anything that Megalopony wanted to do, and even taking a base 140 retaliate very well shows that Miguel was in fact in this game. Anyone that doubted him or said that he was half-assing, that's clearly not the case. He prepped for George, and he adjusted, and now he's in the playoffs. So hopefully he can, show this same bringing again against George or whomever he's playing when the playoffs do end up coming around in 2 weeks. Right. Very interesting exchange between the Mega Altaria and the Nido Queen. Risky for both ends, but, obviously George came out better on that one. But I like the fact that both players kind of risked it at that point. It was, unnecessary, but it was fun. It was like a game of chicken, I guess. The EQ crit allowed Miguel to comfortably go for the superpower against the Umbreon. And even if it was a roll, whatever, it was pretty much an easy click for him at that point. And then finally, it was a nice prediction for him to go for the extra sentry, like I said. It was not, it showed guts. I'll give him that. It wasn't a bad play by George. It was a good play by Miguel. Props.
I think Miguel really had something to prove this game, with everyone kind of questioning, he put up a UCL match, he didn't play his GBA match, and I think he proved it this week. He's still in it to win it, and good on him. But as I said before, he gave away a lot of information on how he's going to try to play George's team next time. If this is the best team he's got for George, that means the next time he's building a worse team for George, which means that George can take advantage of that. There were lots of wall breakers on Miguel's side this week, though. Life Orb Embor, Life Orb Mamoswine, he wanted to break things, and he did. He broke the Bronzong, just destroyed the Umbreon, which made me kind of happy because I also don't like Umbreon, and he just kept up all the momentum. There was never a point in which he was on the back foot this match. He let his WinCon stay healthy, namely the Zapdos, and Zapdos, once the Nido Queen went down, just what does George have for it? Nothing much. So it was I think just an extremely strong showing by Miguel this week. It was just, he was in it to win this match, and he did. Lars, you stayed in with your Lando turn 1, took complete control of the game from then, and won. There wasn't really crazy planning from Lars this week. He, I think, had the better game plan. Granted, some of the hacks did help him. It allowed his Tangrowth to live, although had the gunk shots happened, I think he would have played differently around the Arcanine anyway. But because they didn't happen, he was able to stay in and tank the hit rather effectively. And Lars just had a better plan this week. He was able to bait not only the Thundurus with Yachi Berry Landorus, but he was also able to bait the Jellicent and the Ambipom, take the Jellicent down very low with the Grass Knot, and then kill the Ambipom with the Psyshock. So he knew going into this match what he was going to do, and he just executed all his plans pretty well and took the win.
Yeah, in regards to Lars, like you said, good first turn. Lando knocking out the Thundurus put the game on his back at that point. I like that Lars baited out the Jellicent with Delphox, who was able to get big damage off with the Life Orb Grass Knot, and then subsequently knocking out the Arcanine with the Psyshock. Also, he had good utility with Sucker Punch on Druddigon for a surprise / a tight spot, relief with the Druddigon. So that was cool. He played a cool match. At number 1, Fizzy Stardust. Yes, he lost, but the main point to grab out of this match is that if you could have fun and fuck around with a Chestnut Belly Drum sweep and have 2 mons that have no attacking moves and still be the best team in the league, differential and record-wise, then you deserve the top spot. Fizz is just kind of chilling like a villain, with his logo looks like the top of a totem pole on this list. When you look at the rankings, you're welcome. You're never going to be able to unsee that.
I wonder if you read that in the comment section.
No, not at all. I'm not. I'm totally creative. I'm also a plagiarist. Point is, that was these power rankings. Hopefully you all enjoyed. Comments in the section of the below. Your rankings, your grievances and annoyances. Hopefully, you don't get butthurt from these jokes. They're just jokes. Relax. So
yeah, tell us which teams you think are dumpster fires.
Yes. Leave that's your comment question of the day. What team to you is the biggest dumpster fire?
Oh my god, I can't right now.
All right, so Burke can't right now.
I can't even.
You
I can't even.
So with that being said, we're just going to end it right here. See you all on Sunday. Have a good week. Yeah, bye.
See ya.